majestic golden fish lurks in murky depths. In fear, the other fishes cower in the safety of the seaweed. After all, you never know what a golden fish might do next. But maybe it isn't really a fish at all. Paul Klee never wanted to paint things as they appear. Art does not show things that are visible, he once wrote in his diary. Art makes things visible. Klee loved playing with perception and mixing appearance and reality. In the here and now, he wrote, I cannot be understood. That was not merely a private comment. It was a statement of his credo. The Berlin exhibition focuses on Klee's strange, imaginative universe. Everything in this cosmos flows towards the eye. The static and the moving, the visible and the invisible. Art and nature are governed by the same laws. Again and again in his pictures, a luminous red circle appears. The sun, source of all life. Whichever way up you look at this painting, the red disc dominates. It's a view of the world as simple as if it had been painted for a child.
The childish is a very important element in Klee's work. He rediscovered the drawings he did as a child when he returned from a trip to Rome, where he'd been studying the art of classical antiquity, admiring mankind's finest artistic achievements as they were seen at that time. When he got home, he happened to find his childhood drawings in his parents' attic. In a letter to his wife Lily, Klee said it was the best work he'd ever done. It was completely authentic and natural. It was not overly sophisticated or obviously shaped by the norms and demands of art school. It flowed out of me, he wrote, a truly original product of my being.
The young Paul Klee, growing up in Bern in Switzerland, loved to draw. Here a snail in a natural history book. But it was not until 1914, when aged 35, he traveled to Tunisia with his friends Moyer and Macke, here on the donkey, that he felt he had really become a painter. He had now discovered the world of color, which would henceforth be his domain. In his rose garden, a series of those red discs appears. A rose is a sun, is a snail, is a whole universe. In 1929, Klee went to Egypt, but the result was not Oriental landscapes. In this painting, there may be a hint of the Nile and the pattern of the fields. But Klee, like his Bauhaus colleague Kandinsky, was more interested in the spiritual essence of what he saw. Here we see a bush, or a flower bed, perhaps. But Klee was not satisfied, and eventually he took a radical step.
At some point, Klee turned the canvas over, and on the back he painted a composition almost entirely composed of squarish forms. He called it flower bed. It seems to show some poppies or some yellow flowers. When I look at this picture, I always think it's very musical. I'd like to show it to a group of children and say, look at this, why don't you sing this picture?
Klee was in fact an accomplished violinist, and if his parents had had their way, he would have become a professional musician. Though he chose painting instead, he loved both music and the theater. The stage is a recurring theme in his work. In 1933, Klee was forced to leave Germany. His art, like that of his friends, was considered degenerate in the Nazis' warped view. He returned to his native Switzerland and applied for citizenship, but that was not granted until he was already dead. Klee discovered that he was suffering from an incurable disease, but he continued to paint, in fact, more than ever before. His last painting is yet another depiction of a fish. This one, perhaps a harbinger of what will remain when the artist is gone.